No, don't fuck up the flower, you idiot. Of course you don't fuck up a flower. What are you thinking? No. You gotta, what's something wicked? What needs to be fucked up? Pine cone. No, we don't want to fuck up one. Yeah, okay, ready? Are you watching? Okay, that, I got it. Let's quit. Oh no, now we get our reward. Reward points. Okay, fuck you. So my parents are just gonna have to deal with fucking schizophrenic child. Hi, I'm Terry Davis. I'm the smartest programmer that's ever lived. I was chosen by God to make his temple. I was given divine intellect.
Going from a young, ambitious man with a knack for computer programming and earning a master's degree in electrical engineering, to a troubled, manic individual who was contacted by God to build a successor to the Second Temple in the form of a computer operating system that he would call TempleOS. This is the brief history of the gradual descent into madness of Terrence Andrew Davis, a schizophrenic computer programmer who spent a decade of his life creating a project after experiencing a revelation when God communicated with him 20-something odd years ago. Terry Davis was born toward the end of 1969 in West Allis, Wisconsin, to a Catholic family. He was seventh of 8 children in his family. During the early years of his life, his family moved to and from several locations, including California, Michigan, Washington, and Arizona. In the early 90s, Terry attended school at Arizona State University and graduated in 1994 with a master's in electrical engineering. In the early to mid-90s, Terry went through a period of atheism. He'd go on to play in a band, most likely as the drummer, based on the multiple clips shown of him keeping a drum rhythm going to a song, as well as a GoFundMe posted in 2017 entitled "Buy Terry Davis a Drum Kit," where he managed to get one delivered shortly after the posting.
In the days of my youth, I was told what it'd be to be a man. Now I've reached that age, I try to do all those things the best I can.
The band may have had influences from groups such as Soundgarden or Rage Against the Machine, two of many bands from the era that Terry occasionally mentions in some of his videos. The music group had a groupie who went by the name of Melissa, or Mel for short, who was said to be into witchcraft and not very attractive to Terry's standards. After Terry left the band, the lead still kept in contact with him and told him that Melissa wanted to perform oral sex on Terry. Terry went through with the act and described it to be a disaster, and that the sexual encounters with Melissa was done as a sort of sympathy act. He started working on his first operating system during his last few years of school. He called it Terry's Protected Mode Operating System, or TempleOS. During this period, he also worked for Ticketmaster as what he described to be an intern at the beginning for 6 years before leaving in 1996, when the dawn of his mental conditions began to manifest and hinder him. He experienced things like mania, schizophrenia, and paranoia. He'd start seeing men in suits following him around while he was staying in Arizona, which led him to take his car, a Honda Accord, and begin driving with no destination in mind until he ended up in Marfa, Texas, a small community in the desert of the most western part of the state. A motherboard article written in 2014 explains that he tore apart the side panels of the vehicle and searched for a tracking device. He would then throw his keys out into the desert, begin walking, and eventually be pulled up upon by a police vehicle that would pick him up and take him back to town. Terry jumps out of the car, breaking his collarbone and ending up in the hospital shortly after, where he could hear doctors mentioning artifacts on his X-ray scans. The paranoia rises within him once more, and he escapes the hospital, stealing a nearby pickup truck, and is once more captured by police, where he would then spend a brief period in jail. He returns to Arizona after his mental state calms down. Terry would continue to work several different jobs around this period for companies like Zytec Corp., the head software and electrical engineer for graphics technologies, and eventually putting emphasis on work for a company he creates called Home Automation and Robotic Equipment, or HARE. Around 2000, Terry developed an impressive physics simulator at the time for the company called SimStructure. He demonstrates the abilities of SimStructure in various videos.
We're going to look at SimStructure, which is a program I wrote back in 2000. It's a Windows physics simulator, especially for control systems. Right now we're running it in Wine under Linux. And it'll simulate masses and springs.
In 2003, Terry finally begins to emphasize his work on his operating system, TempleOS, which he explains that God spoke to him to create a successor to the Second Temple. It's originally called TempleOS, which he started work on during his last years of university. The name is then changed several times. At first, Hoppy, then J Operating System, Luslos, Sparrow OS, until finally TempleOS, when the project was completed and released on his website. The operating system featured things including, but not limited to, 640 by 480 resolution 16 color, which God tells Terry is a covenant, like circumcision, no networking for security purposes, 100% open source, no GPU acceleration, and many others that made his OS unique from others. It also contains editors, various simulators, and a plethora of biblical games to choose from. TempleOS was built with a modified version of C that Terry called Holy See, a name referencing the Holy See, or the See of Rome, which is the area that includes the Holy Vatican City-State enclaved in Rome, Italy. This version of C was explained by Terry to be much simpler to use. After the birth of TempleOS, Terry fell further into a downward spiral through the next several years. He starts adding content to his YouTube account where he would make videos about TempleOS, talking about his personal life, and other things that he would record to pass the time, as he explains that after creating God's temple, he was waiting for something to happen, and that there was nothing better to do than to kill time with God and enjoy divine intellect all day.
What? I made God's temple, and now I'm waiting for something to happen. I've been fighting to bring it to fruition, but I'm in some kind of prison or something. So basically now I just kind of kill time. But I'm God's high priest, so there's nothing better to do with your time than kill time with Mr. God and enjoy divine intellect all day long.
Around this time, his cockatiel, Percival, started to cough up blood, and Terry was deeply saddened, saying that at this point he was just waiting for him to die.
So Percival started coughing up blood about a month ago. Then he got a little bit better, but I think he's gotten worse. So this is kind of a death watch, so I'm waiting for him to die.
He later goes on about another similar bird that arrived at his back door that he despised and claims to have smashed him.
That, I loved my old bird. That was Percival. He was a badass motherfucker. Then, like, this other bird shows up on our back door. I swear, it's the same kind of bird. I thought it was a mate, right? So I get this bird. Turns out it's a male, and they have a pecking order, and this bird always loses. Even when the old bird is crippled, this bird loses. He's a total pussy, and he's fucking annoying as fuck. He even looks kind of like a dork, and I did not like him. And one time he's just squawking. I said, "Fuck this, man! I smashed him."
Terry joins a variety of different websites and creates hours upon hours of live content of things occurring in his life, usually involving his thoughts, trips to the stores, times with his parents, and so forth. In August 2017, Terry gets in a heated confrontation with his parents and is soon kicked out of his house after supposedly trying to assault his father.
Hey, Mom. You had 8 puppies, huh?
Yep, that's right.
And you spit on the loser women today, don't you? Why are you defending the niggers? Why are you defending the niggers? Why are you
Because they're people just like the rest of us. They're human beings, and I don't like to be prejudiced.
Niggers?
Are you a Superman?
Yes, I am.
Oh, good. Then get the hell out of here. I don't want any more of your movies.
This man made the Titan missile.
Get out of here with your movies.
He is arrested for battery/domestic violence, released from jail, and a month later arrested again for open lewdness while wandering the streets homeless. During the remainder of 2017 and 2018, he streams live from time to time in his van, and fans visit him every now and again to talk with him about programming and listen to his stories.
In the days of my youth, I was told what it means to be a man.
Unfortunately, on August 11th, 2018, Terry was walking along a train track in the Dalles, Oregon, and was struck by a train, killing him. Terry had an eccentric mind, and although troubled by the tightening grip of paranoia, sadness, and schizophrenia, his eagerness to program and go through with his vision in creating what he believed in was second to none. His memory would live through his overlooked operating system, TempleOS.
Well, life goes on and on. Whoa, just goes on and on and on.